agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
7 minutes after 7. How are you doing? Welcome to Tuesday on this 5th day of November 2024. It's the day when our brothers and sisters in America, those ones for Kamala Harris, are singing Dani, Dani, Dani to their White House, to their White House. Kamala Harris. Yeah? Tano fresh. And then the other guys are doing the Tugokera Tene. Tugokera Tene.
I blame you. You see this thing that he's doing? I blame you.
What?
Because last time he was with you. Last time people were seen together, it was you. So anything that he does, I will ask to ask you.
So I am the...
Those are the songs in America today, well.
Yes.
You see?
A celebration as they go into the election. Yes.
In America?
Yes, in America.
USA?
USA.
Okay.
Wakona Jose Camargo pia. Jose Camargo is also there. You will see.
Jose is the house.
You will
Jose
see.
is in the house.
Jose is in the house. My lord, my ladies. We'll see them. Okay? Well, welcome to the show. Asante sana for joining us. Let's talk about banking, which is Kenya's #1 private bank.
That will be Stanbic Bank, all right? Giving you and recognizing and celebrating your ambitions all the time. And what does that do for you? Is that it gives you an opportunity to do banking the way you would want to do it and that is tailored to suit you. So let's look at how that would be. And today we're saying, you know what? The opportunities rather for you to bank easily. How would you bank easily? So it's seamless, it's personalized banking. So imagine when you go to a tailor, go to a tailor and say, okay, well, that's the one that we've measured for people, and so you can go ahead and have that. No. Stanbic says, you know what? We are going to measure you. We are going to see what your preference is, and then we're going to offer you this banking in a suit that meets your needs. Literally, you can actually walk into the bank and be in a suite with a personalized banker who is hearing your needs and who is understanding what those are and making everything that you require actually suited to just your needs.
Yes.
It's exclusive, it's comfort, it's discretion, it's people who are dedicated to making sure that your experience is you and that your experience makes sense. So the #1 private bank in Kenya today is offering you exactly.
The way to bank.
Exactly.
Okay. Now that we're talking about money, let me tell you the other side of money, okay? There's something called retirement and pension and contributing towards your pension. There's a law called the NSSF Act, okay? That says it divides the pension contribution into 2 tiers. Tier 1, NSSF straight. Tier 2, you have the option, you can take it into a fund manager, okay? That's tier what? Tier 2. Senor. Now, there is something called the Taifa Pension Fund. Taifa Pension Fund. The P is in the middle. Taifa Pension Fund. TaifaPensionFund.com. What is it? It's an umbrella pension scheme designed for employers. It's defined contribution pension fund managed by Kenya's largest administrator, CPF Financial Services. The Taifa Pension Fund accepts NSSF Tier 2 statutory contributions and promises a wide range of benefits to both employers and employees. And if you go to that TaifaPensionFund.com, you will see what those benefits are. Basically, you're talking about the largest manager, the CPF Financial Services, okay? And you're talking about your contribution towards pension, okay? And you're saying, which one? Where will my pension actually be safest? Safest, regulated by the Retirement Benefits Authority. It's important.
Eric, why are you talking pension and looking at me?
Yeah?
What?
Because now you can tell us. You're eating your pension. Umejileta mwenyewe, sio?
Nimejitafuta mwenyewe.
Umejileta mwenyewe hapa, sio?
Mwenyewe. You want to start this journey early.
Yes.
Yes, so that when you get to the sort of vintage that I'm displaying here, it has matured nicely.
Yes.
And you can then think of sorting out those needs that come as, should we say, you age gracefully. Yes. In the absence of that, you will age, but perhaps not gracefully.
Not gracefully?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now, I know in some years back, there was a legend who used to play for Gor Mahia and Harambee Stars. He was a defender. His name was Juakali. Tobias Ochola Juakali. Tobias Ochola Juakali. Now, our guest today is not Tobias, he's Tobias. Tobias Orlando Juakali. He is the acting CEO of the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. See that Juakali comes in.
Well done.
Tobias, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
You knew about Juakali?
Yes. Yes.
That guy was serious.
Very.
Tobias Ochola Juakali.
I used to watch him play football. My dad loved football, so we took us to watch football.
Yeah. Live.
Live.
Aye.
And I also played football, so I still play football.
See? It's in the name. What's in the name? Football.
Yeah.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
We are going to talk about the manufacturing sector in Kenya and how we are doing in terms of just driving industry. And of course, Kenya Association of Manufacturers have been in the forefront of, just doing that work, advocacy.
Yes.
Working and bringing your members and pushing an agenda.
Correct.
But City will welcome you with the day's proverb first. This week, we are in the continent of Africa, north of the Limpopo, south of the Sahara.
Yes. Our proverbs for the following weeks, or this month, will come from Africa south of the Sahara, and as Eric has very eloquently put it, north of the Limpopo. We're in the DRC,
Yeah.
okay, whose capital is Kinshasa. This one always trips me out.
It's Kin what? Sorry, I was just making sure that you...
Shasa. Well, I thought I was going to Sasha it. Sorry. The rain does not fear the authority of a king.
The rain does not fear the authority of a king. Tobias, what's your interpretation of this one?
It can rain on you irrespective of your status. Yes.
What's the inner meaning? The deeper meaning?
Just typically, your status does not protect you from nature. Yes.
Wewe ni mtu mdogo sana. When it comes to nature. Mtu mdogo sana wewe. Tanipa nini? Wilbaro. Okay. Karibu sana, Tobias.
Yeah,
so,
asante.
Kenya Association of Manufacturers,
Yes.
we've had these conversations many times.
Yeah.
It's a business membership organization, right?
Yeah.
And you have very many members.
Correct.
All of them focused on industry.
Correct.
We have a ministry that is in charge of industry, and actually even a state department that's in charge of industry.
Correct.
That means that there's a focus on making sure that our industrialization works.
Yes.
Our Vision 2030 says we get to 2030 in the next 5 years as a middle income industrialized. Are we?
It's a journey that has been very unstable in terms of the manufacturing sector. In fact, the last time our contribution to the GDP was two-digit was in 2011, where we had 11% contribution to the GDP. Since 2011 to now 2014, that has gone down. We are now at about
2024 now.
2024, sorry. We are now at 7.6. So it already shows you that the manufacturing sector contribution to the GDP has gone down tremendously. And our competitiveness in terms of Tanzania, Uganda, and the EAC, those countries are further developed. They are much more developed in terms of the manufacturing sector, unlike before, where we were a dominant country in terms of the manufacturing space. And that's 2 years ago when we did have a conversation with the leadership of this country. There was an ambition to say, let's drive the contribution of the GDP by the manufacturing sector to another 20% by 2030. There are a couple of things that needed to be done or needs to be done in terms of predictability of the tax environment, in terms of the cost of energy, because that at large is one of the things that contribute to the uncompetitiveness. If you look at, for example, in the EAC region, the cost of power, we are 70% more expensive.
What?
Compared to our counterpart in the region. And even
Which
in the
counterpart?
African.
Like on average?
If you compare an average Uganda, Tanzania, even if you go further to South Africa, the cost of energy in Uganda, Tanzania is about 8 cents per kilowatt, or US dollar per kilowatt hour. We are at 20 cents. So that already shows you that we cannot compete. Although the differentiator is that we are slightly more reliable compared to the others. So what the industries are doing is you make use or make do of the opportunity that at least I have the power at a slightly expensive, but it is reliable.
But it's there.
It's there.
Okay.
That's the only advantage that we have.
Ours isn't slightly more. It is significantly more.
It is more.
But how do we manage to maintain this significantly more expensive power? What is it that we do? Because surely, if you want to industrialize, one of the elements of industrialization that you must control and you must ensure is reasonable is power.
That's true. So what happens if you look at the source of power, where we get our power, is either through hydro and thermal. Currently, it's about 30% thermal and about 50% hydro. So the thermal is expensive.
And thermal here includes geothermal?
No, it doesn't include geothermal.
Here,
is more
thermal you just mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Means generators.
Okay.
It is powered and you're using fuel to generate energy. So thermal is expensive, and that's one of the contributors. But at large, you cannot continue without thermal. You need thermal. But we need to reduce, and our proposal has been reduce the thermal generation by another 10% and increase the hydro generation by another 60% from 50%. With that, you'll see a slight reduction and also address issues around wastage, transmission losses. Our transmission loss is at around 28%. The best standard should be at 13%. So you reduce the transmission loss because these transmission losses, these costs are transferred back to
the
all of us.
industry, or brought to the consumer.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to ask a precursor question before we get into maybe a little bit more nitty-gritty. Because sometimes we look at the potential
Yes.
of somebody to do something. I remember, like in grade school, they say, okay, well, I've seen you over a certain period of time, and your potential to be a B student is here. Your potential to be an A student is here. Does Kenya have the potential to punch above this? What was it? You said 6%?
7.6.
7.6%.
Yes.
Does Kenya have the potential to be at the 20-25% that 20 years ago its counterparts today, the country that everybody wants to give an example, Singapore? So does Kenya have the potential today from where you sit to be at that 25%?
Definitely. It has been demonstrated in 2011. Like I mentioned, our contribution was at 11%. So that already shows you from 7.6, we can go above 11%.
Okay.
We have to be intentional as a country and ensure that the investment space is really conducive to attract more investment and also to grow the existing investment. We have the right skill set in terms of the human capital in this country. We have the right environment in this country. We have enough land. We just need to take that hard decision and say we want to grow the industrialization in this country. How do we create a conducive policy environment?
Okay. So then I guess, how do we do that?
How do we do that?
If
Yes.
we know that the ground essentially is ripe, and
Yes.
they said that all these, you talk about the environment, all of these things are there. So what stops this from happening?
So one of the clear conversations we've had is the issue of unpredictable policy environment. every government department wanting to make decision, wanting to make regulations that touches on the industries, wanting to introduce levies and taxes that touches on the industries, and wanting to have a pie of what we do. So it is uncoordinated. And that's conversation we've had with the Ministry of Industry right now through the business reform legislation that is coming up, is have a coordinated mandate as a ministry, where you have an ear of what needs to be, what is being done by others. Because if you put to paper all the taxes that come from different agencies, you will not invest in this country. You will not.
It's just too much.
Too much.
What contributed to the drop from 11.5 to 7.6?
For industry to thrive, one of the issues is generally the political environment. During the instability of our country in terms of politics, you tend to find a lot of investment not expanding or not coming in. So the political stability affects our economy in one or the other.
Okay.
The other thing is about legislations and introduction of fees. I think we have the drive to raise revenue everywhere, and that has contributed a lot. You see, many counties came in, and a lot of counties, this county want to charge businesses, and this really impedes the growth of businesses in this country, and so we are left in an environment where you are not even sure what new fee will come up.
Okay.
You take an example of someone who has about 20 or 50 trucks moving from one county to another, delivering
bread
yes,
across the
bread,
country.
for example. And each county wants you to pay about 30 cess. They call it cess, they call it movement, whatever, or distribution tax.
And then you've advertised on the truck.
Now they don't advertise. In fact, they paint them
They just
white.
paint.
Yes,
Because you put bread on your truck.
So you look at those costs and you're like, no, it doesn't make sense.
But Tobias,
Yes.
between 2011 and 2024, we cannot talk about political instability that would drive industry out of this country. So, right, we can say that really did not contribute, or did it?
It did in a way.
What
You see,
political instability?
let me tell you. You see, investment does not mean today is a political instability. It's a journey, because investment plan take years. So if there was instability 2-3 years back, your investment plan is derailed, definitely.
Okay.
So it's a journey that affects the future plans for any investor.
This is then very instrumental.
Yes.
Because in 2008, that's when we had actual proper
2007,
political
yes,
instability,
yes.
right? And then we emerged out of it.
Correct.
In 2010, we promulgated a new constitution, ushering new hope
Yes.
for this country.
Yes.
So by 2011, when the economy was doing 11.5%,
Correct.
it was showing a recovery from
Correct.
that few big dip of
Correct.
2007. Then we had a new constitution, devolution, new institutions in place, new all this and the other. Why would industry be jittery when constitution and everything else speaks hope? What is it that would make industry feel, I'm not sure about this, to a point where we're actually seeing a reduction in investment?
So if you continue, if you look at that journey, 2007, 2008, 2010 new constitution,
20.
everything is stable, government is working.
Yes.
2013, look
Right.
at 2013, what happened? There was
Election.
election, of course. There was instability. People are not so sure what is going to happen. And that instability inhibits investment generally. So from there on, we've seen a lot of
2017 again.
2017 again. You see a lot of delayed investment. Someone say, I'm not going to expand until I'm sure. Meanwhile, what is happening in our other
Our neighboring
region,
country.
neighboring
neighbors.
country? There is stability. What would someone say? He wants to make money, so move.
So that also contributed. The alternative
Definite.
that then existed, because our neighbors seem to have a stabler, cheaper
Transition of
Transi-
power.
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Okay. Now, the other one was the tax issues.
Yes.
Right? Obviously, those ones are big issues. There's a whole conversation about new county governments have come in and they're imposing taxes, and then there's a national level and the tax imposition, which is where CAM comes in. As you know, this body that advocates for these issues, you must have been having daily conversations with both national and county governments as all these things were happening.
Yes.
Are you saying that you're actually not getting to get a listening ear such that industry would still see, no, I am going? Because I'm looking 11.5 to 7.6, it's a huge drop.
Yes. So we do, and every year we do make recommendations, and these recommendations are based on well thought of research. The impact of any policy change, the impact of any increment of duty, the proposal of reduction of duty, and how that will impact investment in terms of the manufacturing sector. So in certain instances, our feedback was not taken. And through that, we just play what we say, wait and see what will happen, definitely. We've done our research. We know this will impact the growth of industries. And this is our proposal, either increase to protect the local industries or reduce duties, specific duties, to also enhance the growth of the industries. And also the citizens also lacking of understanding. For example, in the last finance bill, there was a conversation about protecting local manufacturers through imposing duty on imported sanitary pads, for that matter. And the citizens were like, you know what, this will not make the sanitary pads affordable. But from where we sit, if you protect the local manufacturing, you're growing the production locally, and you're also creating jobs. So it's a conversation that needs to be done by both citizen and understanding by both citizen and the political side. Otherwise, we make it an issue that we are now making some items expensive.
But is it really possible for the government, through its policies and through other endeavors, to actually ensure that manufacturing is actually enhanced, so that instead of this story of, one, it is too costly, B, people are moving out, that doesn't happen and that people actually stay? Is it possible for the government to do so? And if it is, what does the government need to do really?
It is very possible, and this one requires political will and goodwill from both government and even the citizens of Kenya. Other countries have done it. They took that hard stand and say, we are going to promote our SMEs, we are going to promote our local manufacturing. And they have grown. China has grown because of that intent. So it is indeed possible for our government to do that. And that is why you said we've had a conversation in the last 1 month with the Ministry of Trade and Investment to look at the business reform bill, which basically looks at what are the regulatory challenges that we have been facing and try to address these challenges going forward.
Let's take a break. It's 7:30. We're having a conversation about manufacturing in Kenya, sustainable manufacturing, a Kenyan perspective. What do we need to do to actually see this, let's call it a lofty ideal, to have a manufacturing sector contributing 20% of GDP by the year 2030? What do we need to see, happen? 20 by 30? Like in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years.
We should be contributing 20%, from 7.6% to 20%.
Yeah.
Okay. We need to be radical. City, there's something happening on the 9th of November. And this is the Study in Ireland Fair. Tell us about it.
Well, there are people who actually want to study, and there are people who actually want to study abroad. And we are saying that this is actually very possible. And we want you to consider a destination that you may not have considered because of the many benefits it has. It's called Ireland. Now, Cradle.com are offering you an opportunity to understand and hear more about this. On the 9th of November at Gallant Mall, Parklands, the fair will take place, and it will feature top international universities, specifically from Ireland. Now, the benefits that you will derive from this particular fair is you'll get direct access to top universities, discover Ireland's career opportunities, and get expert advice on visas. But you have to register because entry is by invitation only, and you cannot get an invitation if you do not register. So to register, go to Cradle, CRAYDEL.com. Yes.
That's it.
That's it.
CRAYDEL.com.
Yes.
To register.
Cradle. Yes.
And what's the date for the fair?
9th of November 2024, this year,
Where?
at Gallant Mall, Parklands.
Very good.
Yes.
We'll be back shortly with Tobias Alando, Acting CEO of the Kenya Association of Manufacturers.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
As the sun rises, so do we. As